are the orphan boys and the forgotten girls. We are lost and far from home. We are the fatherless, born of dust and nothingness. We are lost and far from home.
One time I was at a conference and they showed this presentation about how many orphans there are in the world, and that really touched my heart, and I just started crying like I'd never cried before, and it was like if God was crying, and that's when I knew I have to go.
I remember the first time I ever visited an orphanage in Ukraine. I'd only been here about a month, and I was in an orphanage on the floor of where all the 12-year-old girls live. And I didn't speak any Russian, and we were trying to communicate with each other. And in that evening, I just remember that God burdened my heart for those girls, that they were at such a vulnerable age. They weren't little anymore, and yet they weren't teenagers. They were at this vulnerable age of 12. And I just remember thinking, who's going to fight for them? Who's going to speak for them?
Me and my husband, we were invited to the Center of the Family Care to be a temporary foster family. And first it was shock for us, that I just graduated from university and I planned the whole career which I will have. And then we got that proposition and we were praying about it, and we realized that if not us, then who will do that?
Some of the kids come to my home very often, and we just, sometimes just have girl time together, or we'll have dinner together. And some of them actually started to call me Mama, and which is really funny because I'm really young. But that really keeps me motivated to see that, if that's what they need, they can call me Mom. Yeah.
Sometimes you just need someone who you can call Mama and Papa, and a place where you can come back and say, okay, I'm home.
I became an orphan when I was 13. My dad died, and at that point I realized that I really needed fatherly love in my life. So when we started working with kids, God just showed me that He loves them the same as He loves me. Just as much love He showed me, He has that much love for them too.
There should be no orphans. They should all have a family. Then there'd be none left.
I think orphans go through a lot of pain of being kind of like mistreated and stuff, and feel like they're nothing, because a lot of times that's what they're told. At least that's what I was kind of told. And so I think God has really great compassion for that, because those orphan kids are not nothing. They were created by Him, and they're just as special.
I didn't feel in orphanage home. I just see like the same faces, the same problem, and the same days, like morning, day and evening. It's the same thing. So I just want to say that kids need help.
Through being adopted, I have learned about God's heart in such ways as that we're wanted. I was wanted. No matter what situation I came from, God still planned and had a purpose for my life, and He used whatever means and still cared about me and brought me into a fantastic family to where I've thrived. And He's always had a plan and a purpose. And so as I've gotten older, He's exhibited Himself in my life, and and has always been, it just had a plan for me.
There's a verse in the Bible talking about how God takes care of the ones without the fathers. And so when I was fatherless, he brought me an earthly father, but through that, my earthly father brought me to my heavenly father. So it's a really cool connection, and I guess I really like how I was adopted into a family, but I was also adopted into God's family, so I think that's really something special.
I asked Marcus for help because for me it was no way to go.
When he turned 17, that was his last year at that camp, he approached me and told me he had nowhere to go. And so I was like, wow, I don't know, that's a pretty big, order, to take in a kid. And I mean, he would be 18 years old, so he's not exactly a kid, but a kid in the sense that he's not really ready for the world.
I'm just glad that I met Marcus because he's like my father. He changed my life. He gave it to me all through God.
Steve and I were with a group of people who were visiting an orphanage in southern Ukraine. We had gone there to visit and see what kind of needs were needed in this particular place. We just went in room after room of these children, and in the last room we were in, there were maybe 30 cribs. Most of them were empty, but 2 of them had children in them that had health problems, according to what the director said. And she began to talk about the children who normally live in this room, and I just happened to glance over the side of the crib of one of these little children, looked down in the eyes of this child who was staring back up at me, and not looking away, but looking into my eyes. And I had this sense that this child was asking me a question, and the question was, what do I have to live for? And after I left, I couldn't get that question out of my mind, and I couldn't get that child out of my mind. Something had happened in me where there was a desire in my heart to mother that child and to have that child in my home, in my family. And I believe God put that there.
The best part about being in a family is a mother who loves me.
What I've learned about the heart of God through working with these kids is that He has so much love for them, completely. So I remember just asking God that, please give me love for them, because I felt in my heart I didn't have anything. And then it got to the point where just hanging out with them and playing with them again, I remember there was this one instance where I was with a kid and just looking at him, I remember feeling in my heart so much fatherly love coming from God, through me to him, because this kid, he didn't have a dad, and God just wanted to let him know that he's his dad and he loves him so much.
If we want to honor God with all that we are, with our whole life, we can't ignore the orphans.
If you think that you're a person with a loving heart, you can always become a part of orphan ministry, because that's basically what it consists of, loving those kids who didn't get any love in their life.
It's a pretty undeniable call from God. It's very black and white, plain as day. You have to go and help the orphans and the widows, right? It's just, you can't deny it. So
Adoption is vital. It changes lives and is central to the heart of God, and we are wanted children. And whether we're helping someone in ministry, helping them to raise funds to adopt, or praying for them, or encouraging them, or adopting ourselves. It's vitally important. And so I would just encourage anyone to look at your part. What's your part in it? Because it drastically changes lives.
Today, there are over 143 million orphans worldwide.
Kids are waiting.
Kids are waiting.
Kids are waiting.
For your prayers.
For a family.
For a friend.
For a relationship.
For your time.
For a place to call home.
What will you do?
What will you do?
What will you do?
What will you do?
Pray for them.
Speak up for them.
Provide for their needs.
Support those who support them.
Protect them from harm.
Visit them.
Give sacrificially.
Encourage them to press on.
Adopt them into your family.
Mobilize your church for them.
Go.
Give.
Support.
The options are limitless.
There are 30,000 churches in Ukraine.
There are 30,000 orphans living in institutions.
It's time
To change.
The statistics.
But there is no love like